Yo, what's up, Popol as well? It's your boy Serrano. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, and we're going to be comparing against the Samsung Galaxy A16 5G. But make sure you guys stay locked in to the end of the video because we're going to be talking about these phones in a lot more detail. We're going to be covering the cameras. Also, we're going to be covering the displays, the body, the performance, and we're also going to be covering, the build quality and things like that. But if you're brand new to the channel, I truly appreciate you for coming through if you're new. But if you're already a part of the crew, salute. So these are the main cases that I do use for both of my phones that I want to protect them and make sure that they're all good when it comes to durability and longevity. So you can see I have the Spigen case with the kickstand on the Samsung Galaxy A14, rubberized grips on the side, and it just feels really good in the hand. You also have a dual texture on this one. On the Poetic case right here for my Samsung Galaxy A16, I have the closing door for the camera, the pop-out kickstand, the rubberized sides with grip, and then the hard finish right here underneath. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at these devices. The Samsung Galaxy A14 on my right was actually released in January 2023. And basically what came in the box was the cord, the charging, cord. You also do get the pin so you can actually remove the SIM card. And that's pretty much everything that came in the box. You also do get the user manual and things like that. So with the A16, it's pretty much the exact same experience. This one, instead of being a slide out one like that, it's actually just a box you can open. And this one actually introduced recyclable materials. You get the remover tool. You also do get the charging cable, the Type-C cable. And there was a difference in speeds when it comes to charging. So when it comes to charging, you're getting 25 watts on the A16. But when it comes to the charging on the Samsung Galaxy A14, we're actually getting less capacity when it comes to the charging speeds, which we'll get into later in the video. But yeah, obviously that you're going to get an upgrade when it comes to charging on the A16. So you're getting 15 watts on the A14, and you're also getting 25 watts on the A16. So I want to go ahead and take both of these phones out of the cases so we can kind of just see what they look like. If this is the Revolution Poetic case with the two layer protection. So let me go ahead and get my cloth so I could just wipe off the back, because it does have a lot of oils, dust, and residue. Now, when it comes to the bodies of both of these devices, they're both actually designed similarly, and we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. So let's take a look at them right up front and close and center, kind of tap in and see what's the difference between these two phones. So one of the things, the main differences is that they actually introduced IP rating on the Samsung Galaxy A16, so you will get waterproofing. I think it's like IP54 or something like that. So I'm actually holding a button. I just felt the haptics vibrating on there. So yeah, so you're actually getting water resistancy and dust resistancy when it comes to the A16. So that's going to be pretty cool because it's going to actually be resistant to water. It's going to be resistant to dust as well. They're both scratch resistant. And so these phones are actually pretty similar, but they're also a lot different. So like I said, IP54 rating, no IP54 rating on the A14. And then the A14 is going to have like this black looking, build body to it. It does come in multiple colors: black, white, gold, and green. The A14 comes in black, silver, red, and green, and the A16 comes in black, white, gold, and green. And so yeah, the gold, I haven't really seen that often in the market, but yeah, they do say that it does have that color in other markets. So yeah, plastic materials on both of these devices when it comes to the feel and the build. And you're going to notice that the A16 will actually scratch a lot on the back. As far as the A14, when it comes to the material, it's like a finish that just kind of feels really nice and smooth. So you're not going to really notice the scratches as much as you will on the A16. Now for the overall designs, you can see that the A14 is thicker. They actually made the A16 a little slimmer. So it's a little bit more skinny when it comes to the width, but rounded corners on the A14. So it kind of gives you more of like a easier grip in the hand. Let me just put my pin in on this one. Let this one start up. And for this one, it has like those flat sides. And you're gonna notice where the volume rocker is, that you have this indentation on the A16 that kind of pops out, letting you kind of know where the power button is when you feel for it. Whereas the A14, it's just kind of like, it's kind of cool because you can like slide your finger across the power button where the fingerprint sensor is and get your drop down notifications. So they both have side mounted fingerprint sensors. So one thing about the displays is that you're going to notice is that you're going to get an AMOLED panel on the Samsung Galaxy A16 and a LCD display panel on the A14 5G. And so the A16 was released in October 2024 in the global market, but it was actually released a little bit later for the US, like in December, so 2 months after that. And then the A14 was actually released in January 2023, so like basically 2 years ago. So yeah, we have a 2-year-old A14, and we have a fairly new, less than a couple of months old A16. And so there's going to be some differences that I want to talk about in this video. And so yeah, let's basically talk about the display panel. So the A16 is going to have a 6.7-inch display, and the A16 is going to have that 6.7, and the A14 is going to have the 6.6. And then this is going to be a TFT LCD IPS display, whereas you're getting a Super AMOLED panel on the A16. So one of the things you're going to notice is that the A16 and the A14 both have really gorgeous panels. Even though this is an IPS display on the A14, one of the things about this panel is it's probably one of the best IPS displays I've ever seen, because it looks a little bit brighter to the naked eye for some reason when I'm just looking at it compared to the A16. So I don't know if I have it on reading mode. I'm trying to see if I have it on reading mode, but right now I'm looking at it. I don't see reading mode on. So yeah, it's basically just looking really bright on the A14. And one of the things I like is the punchy colors coming out of it. It has really good punchy colors, really good saturation when it comes to the colors on the A14 as well. And you can see that the reds actually pop. It actually has pretty good responsiveness too. And so yeah, this is going to be a really solid device. Now you can notice that the punch holes are a little bit different. You have the Infinity U and you have the Infinity Waterfall on the A14. So the Infinity U on the A16 does look pretty sharp, but still the A14 does sport a pretty, nice looking notch on there. So as far as the chins on both of these devices, you're going to notice that they did minimalize the chin on the A16 compared to the A14. So you're going to have a bigger chin on the A14, which is going to give you more screen real estate to play around with when it comes to the A16. So let's talk about dimensions. They both have 1080 by 24 roughly. So the A16 is going to have the 2340, and then the A14 is going to have the 1080 2400. But they're both pretty similar. 405 pixels per inch on the A14, and you're also going to get 385 pixels per inch on the A16. So yeah, I definitely like both of these displays when it comes to the brightness, when it comes to the colors, and when it just comes to using them. So yeah, they both have really good responsive touch and feel. And they will start to slow down over time because they are budget phones. But some of the main specs on both of these devices is that they're going to be offering you 90 hertz display panel when it comes to the refresh rate, which is actually something that most phones should have nowadays. And you're still seeing some phones that come launch without it. And that's a shame because these devices are pretty much less than $150. So the A16 is about $170. So yeah, high refresh rate on both of these. giving you 90 hertz displays to play around with. So when it comes to the viewing angles, obviously an AMOLED panel is going to have a little bit better viewing angles, but I definitely like the colors and the brightness on the A14. So on the A16, they do say that it has Gorilla Glass 5. I'm not quite sure if I can confirm that, but that's what the spec sheet says. And then the A14, I don't know what type of glass it has, but it hasn't scratched over time. So that's actually a good thing. And as far as the aspect ratio, you're getting that 20:9 aspect ratio on the A14, and you're getting a 19:5 aspect ratio on the A16. So when I look at them side by side, I can see that the A14 is just a tiny bit skinnier when it comes to the width, and this one on the A16 is a little bit wider. They both sit flat on a surface, but the A14 doesn't rock at all, whereas the A16 has a little bit of rock to it. So they both offer facial recognition. It's saying my face does not match, I guess because my look kind of changed over time and I have to scan my face again. Let's try that one more time though. Facial recognition. Okay, so that time it did work. Let's do the A14 one more time with the facial recognition. So that works. Let's try the facial recognition on the A16. It's trying to recognize my face. Okay, there we go. So both have facial recognition and side-mounted fingerprints. Let's do a fingerprint test on the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. That looked like the A14, but let's give it another go. 1, 2, 3. And that was the A16 tiebreaker right here. 1, 2, 3. And that was almost the exact same time. So pretty much they both got very fast, fingerprint sensors and everything like that. But one of the things I wanted to show you about both of these devices is basically how they sound when it comes to the speakers. All right, so I have the mics close together. I have the mic right next to the speakers. We both have single file speakers, so let's hit play. So this is the A16. All right, so that actually sounds pretty good. Let's try the A14.
North Road made this.
All right, so I definitely think that both sound pretty good, but I think that the A16 has a slightly better. Speaker when it comes to the overall sound, when it comes to testing them side by side. Yeah, so both devices do have the same placement other than the little ridge right here when it comes to feeling out the volume rocker and the power button. On the top, they both have the microphone. On the bottom, they both had headphone jacks. Well, you have the headphone jack on the bottom for the A14, but there's no headphone jack on the A16. So I just want to mention that. You're also getting microphones at the bottom and speakers at the bottom. And then these both offer SD card expansion as well. So you can expand the storage on both of these devices. So yeah, I definitely like both of these when it comes to the build quality. I definitely like the fact that the A16 stands up on its own. The A14 is not completely flat, so it does have rounded corners, so it's not going to be able to do that. But one of the favorite features that I like about both of these is that they do have tap to wake and tap to sleep. But let's do a quick app opening contest and see which one will win when it comes to both of these devices. Then we'll jump into performance and cameras. So when it comes to the apps, let's try Amazon. 1, 2, 3. Looks like the A16 is opening up faster, but I'm not even signed in on the A14 and it opened up faster on that one. So that one will go to the A14 even though I wasn't signed in. So I just want to mention that. Let's do AliExpress. The phones are kind of slippery, so I'm going to put them down. 1, 2, 3. It looked like that one on the A14 opened up a little bit faster. And wow, that was kind of close. Let's try another app. Let's do the Bible app. 1, 2, 3. And it seems like the A14 is more responsive to the touch, but let's see who takes this. And that was almost a complete tie, but I'm going to give it to the A14 with some last minute animation loading on the A16. So yeah, those are really close. Let's do a few more, and just to make sure that they're both, which one is, faster than the other one. So yeah, what we did Amazon, we did AliExpress. Let's do, I don't know, SoundCloud real fast. So let's do that one more time. A couple more tests just to test these out. So SoundCloud, 1, 2, 3. You can see that the A14 is faster to the touch, but when it comes to the speed, the A16 did take this one. So yeah, the A16 did take this one. Let's do the X app, 1, 2, 3. And I'm probably not logged in on the A14, but that looked like almost a dead tie. Let's do the Play Store on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And the A16 took that just by a hair. So yeah, you can see that the performance is very comparable. Let's jump into a game and launch on both of these devices to see which one does better when it comes to the graphics. All right, so I'm gaming right now on the A16. This is going to give you a pretty decent processing chip. It's got a AMOLED G68 MC4 with the Samsung Exynos 1330. So as far as the graphics, it's running on a 5nm platform manufacturing process. And so basically what that means is this is going to have 4 GB of RAM inside of it, which is going to be powering it. Also, it's going to give you the additional 128 GB of storage that's expandable. So when it comes to the graphics on here, let me just show you that real fast. So you do get high and smooth, which is the highest setting that I would like to have it at. But I wish it was a little bit higher, but it's still actually very playable on here. So I'm going to show you that right now. But yeah, everything is pretty manageable when it comes to this chip. You can still game on here pretty competitively without any stutters or hiccups. And so that's going to be a really good thing because the touch responsiveness is actually pretty good for keeping up with your competition. So yeah, it's a pretty good chip. It's not the best one I've ever used in the entire world, but it will hold you down if you wanted to do a little bit of gaming every now and then, especially like PUBG. It's still going to hold you down, and you will be able to get first blood every now and then, but it's not going to be like one of those high performance chips where it has cooling and optimization and things like that. So yeah, I just want to be transparent. This chip will have its flaws. It's a little bit shaky. It's not the fastest in the world, but it's suitable for basic gaming and even things like this. It's really good at playing PUBG, Call of Duty, and Asphalt 9 and things of that sort. So now I'm gaming on the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. This one has 64 GB of ROM, but 4 GB of RAM. And then as far as the processing speeds, it's going to give you the AMOLED G6. Actually, this is going to rock the Dimensity 700. So one of the things about the Dimensity 700 is it's actually really quick and snappy. So if I go to graphics right here, you're going to see that we actually have a bunch of different settings. This is actually new to me. So style, colorblind. It doesn't give me the graphics. Let me see. Better graphics, balance. There we go. So you do get smooth and ultra on this one. So as far as these graphics with the ultra, it's going to be better than the one on the Samsung Galaxy A16 when it comes to the settings, because the fact that they give you smooth and ultra versus smooth and high. So yeah, a much better processing chip when it comes to gaming on the A14 5G. I would just prefer the very high graphics on this one, and there's going to be no lag. It's going to be very responsive and very few slowdowns on this one. So you're not going to really notice any stutters, any hiccups or anything like that. So I would overall say that this one is the better performer out of the two. Although, obviously that is up for debate, but in my opinion, I just feel like this one is going to be a lot better when it comes to handling competitive gameplay because of the fact that it has the higher graphics setting on the chipset. So yeah, Dimensity, in my opinion, is superior to the Exynos processing chip. I would choose the Dimensity 700 over the Exynos 1330 based off of what I'm seeing right here and how responsive it is. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section about both of these when it comes to the overall performance. All right, so I did want to do a camera comparison. We're going to take two photos on both using the 50 megapixel cameras. You can see I have the 50 megapixel setting on right here just by tapping it, and you can go back to the 12 or the 50. Let's do the 50. I'm going to do the same thing with the A16 5G, and let's go into the 50. And so let's go ahead and snap a photo using the Samsung Galaxy A14. I feel like he's kind of slumped, so let me just put this guy right next to him so it kind of can have some duality there. So let's do a shot on the A14 right here, and one for good luck, and let's do a portrait. Okay, so I did two normals and one portrait. So this is the A16 one. That's a little bit of a delay on the shutter. The A14 had a faster shutter speed. So that's something I just want to mention as well, is that the Exynos does have some delay when it comes to the shutter speed. Let's do the portrait and kind of lock in right now. Then we're going to talk about the battery and my final thoughts. So this one does have like this bokeh effect where it's right now, if I go to portrait, it's at the full strength. So I'm going to lower that just because it's a little bit too aggressive. And then let's take the portrait shot. All right, let's compare these two shots. This first being the portrait shot on both. The A14 is more responsive. You can see it already opened up the photo, whereas the A16 takes a little bit longer to load. But these are the two pictures. They both have two different color temperatures. It seems like there's a cooler display setting on the LCD panel than on the AMOLED panel, which is on the A16. But as far as detail, the A14 definitely nailed it. It was able to focus a little bit better on the face and even on the jacket. So I don't know, why it's much more clear when I'm zooming in, but I do see it being a lot clearer and more responsive to the touch as well. But yeah, the A16 did a pretty decent job, but a lot more clear and smoother when it comes to the detail on his jacket and his head. So let's check out another photo. So zooming in on this one, the A14 did a really good job. You can see that the hand on the A16 looks a lot more clear. So yeah, the hand, they definitely did a better job when it comes to the details on the hand. On the A16 is brighter and it captures more detail. Let's go to the next picture. Let's go to the face one more time. Okay, so there we go. The A16 did a better job on this one. You can see a little bit more detail and it gets a little bit bigger when it comes to the zooming. So you're able to zoom in more. Let's see what pixel size these are. 18 on the 18 megapixel size, 50 megapixel on the 16, and 8 megapixel on the, for this is the portrait though, that's why. So let's go ahead. This is the 50 megapixel shot right here on both. So let's compare the two 50 megapixel shots. Okay, so now you're able to get a little bit more zoom on the A14, but still a little bit better detail on the A16. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, when it comes to batteries, they're both going to be very similar. They're both giving you really good updates, but it's almost end of life for the A14, which is going to get one more update with the Android 15, and they're both on Android 14 right now, and then 6 years of updates on the A16. So you're going to get Android 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And then on the A14, you're only going to get Android 15. So 5 additional more updates on the A16. That's an incentive to buy it. However, yeah, I do think that the A14 has better gaming, and the A14 does have some features that the A16 doesn't have, and vice versa. So the A14 is going to give you some good overall snappiness, I would say responsiveness when it comes to the touch, but you don't see that we get the smart view. So the smart view is there for the A16, but it's not there for the A14. However, we do get Android, 14 on both of these. And the other thing is that we do have NFC on both of these as well. So that's kind of cool that they both do offer that, and they both do offer the side menu right here where you can multitask and use your apps and get more access to more apps faster. But yeah, I do think that the A14 is a little bit more responsive, and as far as the displays, it's going to be a little bit brighter and less bezels on the A16 right here to my left. Also, you do get an IP54 rating on the Samsung Galaxy A16, so it's a little bit wider when it comes to the sizes right here. So, and the A14 is a little bit taller, so I just want to mention that as well. But let me know what you guys think about the A15 and the A16 in the comment section. Which one is worth buying to you? I definitely think that if you have the A14, it's still a pretty good phone. You can get Android 15 on it, and you can use it until the Android 16 comes out. But yeah, it's still worth buying, like just for that 1 year until the new software update comes. But if that doesn't matter to you, then you could probably rock out with it for a few more years after the Android 15 update. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you guys did find this video helpful. If you're brand new to the channel, I truly appreciate you for coming through. If you're new, make sure you stay locked in for more videos just like this. But do me a favor, I just want to remind you to hit the like button so we can get this video out to more people and help beat the YouTube algorithm. And just type down below, I'm still here, so I know you're still kicking it with me. And I'll check you guys later. I'll hit you back later, crew. Namaste.